Spirit of life and joy. Spirit of wisdom and power, spirit of all that we need to live happy, joyous, and free. We give thanks right now for this time, knowing that it is fruitful and meaningful and inspiring, that the ideas we share are enlightening, that the fellowship we share is heartwarming, and that we leave today grateful for having been here. And so we pray this now, knowing that it is unfolding in perfect divine order, and so it is. And we all say, amen. If you guys can't hear me, if anyone back there, Barb and Sheldon and Carol and those on the end, can't hear me, please raise your hand and I'll try to raise the volume. So what I'd like to do is, oh, well, hi, hey, there's a chair right up in front, Joey Joe. Right up front. And then right here. One over there. So part of this is about getting to know one another and sharing our spiritual journey. So I'm going to start with Chris right here. Chris, right here. If you would share your name and real briefly, because there are a lot of us.
Yes, sir.
Yes, your favorite vacation spot.
Oh, okay. Yeah, put me on the spot, but that's okay. My name is Chris Romero, and probably my favorite vacation spot. I'm gonna go there. Is I had a lake in Nebraska it was just a Nebraska lake for 11 miles long. We could water ski, we could do everything. You didn't have to go in clockwise order or anything. And had the house lake, and the kids grew up there, and we just knew, you get up and just shower in the lake, It was one of those.
Nebraska.
It was
A lake
just
in Nebraska.
It was so Nebraskan.
Great, thank you. Moving down the line, your name and your favorite vacation spot. This is about remembering names, not vacation spots.
Okay, thanks. Okay.
My name is Joy, and I lived for several years in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. And it's on the obviously on the ocean. And I think that right now I have more. I also had my father had a small cabin in Maryland, and that was on the water as well. And we went there for vacation. So they would be my two, one old and one more new.
Thank you.
I'm Nancy Dearborn. The most beautiful place I've been in the world is Santorini, Greece, and I'm trying to go back.
Oh, my favorite spot too. Okay.
Mine also. My name is Carol Steichen. I've never been to Greece. Hope I can, but Maui without a doubt.
Oh, great, thank you. Next.
Betty Jo Johnson, Maui too.
Great.
Judy Loxley. The Magazine
The what?
River in the.
Okay, thank you.
My name. Your name and your favorite vacation.
My favorite vacation spot, my name is Joe. My favorite vacation spot would be Hawaii.
Hawaii, thank you.
There's no competition in Hawaii. Thank you.
My name is Barbara Ajax, and my favorite place is our cabin in Ely, Minnesota,
Mm.
up by the boundary line.
Oh, nice, thank you.
I'm Sheldon Ajax, and I concur with that.
Thank you.
It's 40 below there last week.
Oh.
I'm Carol Van Myers, and I really remember the ocean.
Thank you. And can we get you in this, we can find room, come on, come on.
I'll move, okay.
All right,
I'm Kathy Philippone. My favorite spot is our place in Cape Hatteras.
thank you,
I'm Denise Drago and anywhere in the Caribbean.
thank you.
Jeannie Cooper, Traverse City, Michigan.
Oh,
I'm Linda, and currently my favorite spot is the southern tier part of New York State. It's the Finger Lakes area, and I have family there.
thank you.
My name is Donna Howell. My favorite spot is New Hampshire,
Thank you.
White Mountains.
And I'm Darlene Hubbard, and I guess mine would be in the mountains or in Scandinavia.
Thank you.
I'm Marla Thomas, and my favorite area or vacation place is the very rural area of Illinois.
Oh, really?
I'm Margie Beatty, and my favorite vacation spot was a cabin that my parents had up in Prescott.
Oh, thank you.
Barbara Little, and I'm very fortunate that I had a dear friend that was a travel agent,
Ah,
and I did some trips with her, and I think Kenya.
Kenya, interesting. Oh, thank you.
Too short, and my favorite place to visit is Hawaii. And my great grandson is just moving there today.
Wow, jealous.
Wow.
Yeah.
And he's running some type of what we call it, where you just rent a room at a time, you know.
Yeah, Airbnb.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, thank you all.
We're running that.
We need his business card.
My name is Sharon, and my favorite place to vacation is Greece. Yeah. Okay, well, here
Wait a
we
minute,
go.
Sharon, Sharon, you forgot to talk to Laura.
Oh, Lori, I'm so sorry. Your name and favorite vacation spot is?
Laura, you have to unmute.
Budapest.
Budapest. Oh, yeah. That's on my bucket list. Welcome, all of you. So I'm so happy to have some new folks here that I haven't seen in a long time. So thank you. Kathy, you're gonna move?
Okay,
I want you to be comfortable, but I'd like you in the circle. Okay, here we go.
come on.
There we go.
They're not gonna let you go.
Okay, so what I want to cover, we're going to meet for 4 weeks. If any of you are considering becoming a member, then you need to be here for all 4 weeks. If you're already a member, I want you here all 4 weeks, but you don't have to be. So what I want to cover, I think, is important to know where we come from, where unity comes from. How many of you know, are already clear about that? Okay, some of you are. And then talk a little bit about our beginnings, which is really roots, the development and expansion and where we are today. There have been some interesting questions posed by the CEO of Unity Worldwide Ministry. We're doing a tech summit the end of this month. Unity is for the ministers and licensed teachers. And one of the first questions that was posed to consider coming into that tech summit is live streaming the best way to reach out? So it used to be that live streaming was considered, you got to live stream if you're going to have a ministry, especially through the pandemic, right? How do people stay connected? And another of the lectures during the summit meeting is using technology to reach people and to stay connected. So I'm wondering, how many of you are on Facebook? Okay, not everybody, right? How many are on Instagram?
Kind of.
Kind
of. I have an account.
Okay, how many of you go researching for videos, YouTubes for what you're interested in? Okay, some of you do that. More if you do that, it sounds like, than participate much on Facebook. In other words, if I were to put videos or messages on Facebook, many of you would have no clue that they were there, right? Because you don't even look. Same with Instagram, I'm assuming, right? Okay. Okay, so if I were to try to reach, if we as Unity Sun City, Unity Spiritual Center of Sun City, were to try to reach more people, what would I be doing? Would I be putting videos up on YouTube for you guys to find, like a meditation video? Like, that would be the best way. That's very interesting to me. Okay, Laura, what do you think? You're a techie whiz. Unmute, baby. Unmute.
My cat chewed my wires from my headphones, so, okay, anyhow, it depends on the age group. The older age group that we're in use technology less. So, but for the younger folks, they're much more in groove.
Yeah.
And they would prefer, I mean, I know people that go to church and then they video stream somebody else's sermon, for example. One of my nieces does that.
Yeah.
Because
sorry, I thought you were. Anything else, Laura?
also, like Marianne Williams and stuff, that she puts up a lot of stuff on Instagram. Yeah. And they're short videos, or you can, join longer ones. But those are very, very helpful to me because I enjoy those a lot.
So Instagram for some. Yeah, I have an Instagram account and I find a lot of videos that I'm interested in on Instagram. Okay, any comments that you want to make about that, Chris?
I kind of would. So who are we targeting? Because we have, I would love to have a whole, us understanding Instagram and understanding all the technology. But we also you need these people that do understand, to bring it in. So how are we going to integrate the technology that we don't know to the technology that they do know?
Anyone want to comment on that?
I was going to say, luckily that's up to the people in charge to get that information out. And it would be up to us maybe to put that question in.
I would love to know.
Love to know
You wanted
how to get an Instagram account?
Well, how to know to relate to the world right now,
Oh, gotcha.
We're not, yes, technologically, that I am, I don't know.
Well, and I don't know if all of you have caught the vision that we created last month for Unity Spiritual Center. So it really is a worldview. When you say, how do we reach out? It is a worldview because we say to connect with our community here and the world. So so that's why I'm going to a tech summit to see what they have to say. And that's why I asked you, what do you all use technologically speaking?
For people who are members of the Sun City RCSC,
If you want to get more training in technological stuff, you can join the computer club. It's very reasonable, and they'll have, I think they have workshops like, how to do Facebook, how to do Instagram, that kind of thing. And they can help you get more technologically savvy. So that would be one resource.
Great, thank you. And next,
Well, I'm finding that a lot of older people, they might not have a computer, but they text. So a link, they have a smartphone. So a link, and we usually have phone numbers, so a link and a text.
okay,
To probably, something that they don't need an account for, like YouTube.
yeah,
And also, it does, again, it's your target audience. Are you talking about members or potentially new members? Because that's a whole different story. And why limit it to technology? I don't know why Unity is not advertising in the Daily Independent thing.
we do,
Okay,
we do.
the one in Sun City West doesn't.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'll have to ask, well, Kathy's tuned in here. We do advertise on a weekly basis in the local
And
independent,
Sun City
right?
Independent, every week.
Yeah.
Good. And then I like the newsletter myself.
You like the newsletter?
I like paper,
Me too.
and I usually work in IT.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
sorry, I like paper.
Well, in addition to the ad in the Sun City Independent, sometimes you have a column in there.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once a month, I have an article in there.
Yeah.
Jean?
Well, one thing that is important for me is to be able to cast, like YouTube up on, we don't even have to cast.
Talk loud because Lori's trying to hear us, Jean.
I'm just saying that for YouTube is great because it's right on your smart TV, so that if you have any kind of low vision issues, or if you're just one of those people that like to hear and see. I don't know if you can do it. Can you cast Instagram up on your television?
I do not know. I do not know that one.
Yeah, not that.
The question was Kathy, maybe Kathy or Lori knows.
I don't know
Can
anything about
you,
Instagram, but we
put
do.
YouTube,
We have a
Instagram
YouTube.
videos up on your smart TV.
We have a YouTube channel right now. We already have a YouTube channel, and that's what I put these the Zoom meeting recordings. Those are all on the YouTube channel, and other special things like the Thanksgiving that we did, the Interfaith Thanksgiving is on the YouTube channel. So we do have a YouTube channel, and you can cast that. You can cast Facebook. I don't know about Instagram because I'm not on Instagram.
Are you saying, Jean's question was, can it go up on a smart TV?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, casting, that's
Okay.
what that means.
Yes, it can.
Go up on a smart TV, but through.
Yes, it will go. YouTube will go up.
Yeah, YouTube definitely will, Facebook definitely will. I can't speak to Instagram.
Instagram will as well, because if Facebook goes up, then Instagram probably will go up too.
Okay, I'm on Instagram in case anyone wants to follow me on Instagram.
Instagram isn't the right platform for video, though. Instagram was meant for photos, short-term.
I know, but I'm amazed at the people who put videos up there.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're kind of on and off the subject, right? But I guess I got right here to today before I got to roots. So let's talk about roots. How many of you know when Unity was founded? Mid-1800s. Founded by, how many of you know who founded it? Gee. Good job. Charles and Myrtle Fillmore. They were not happy with their own faith, the faith of their upbringing. And they went on a search primarily because they weren't doing well financially. Charles was, bless you, Charles was an entrepreneur. Bless you, an entrepreneur, and he was eventually very successful, but initially not so much. And so they were on a spiritual search. They began with lectures primarily by Emma Curtis Hopkins, E.B. Weeks, at that time, around the mid 1800s, a renaissance in thinking was beginning with the transcendentalists, and which you see here. And so that whole idea of your thoughts are creative was not new at all. I mean, Plato and Aristotle and others way back when, ancient wisdom, right, talked about the power, the creative power of our thinking. The transcendentalists brought it back into the mainstream and highlighted it again. And Charles and Myrtle were moving in those circles. Charles was also, as I understand it, a member of the Oxford group, which was kind of a sort of a spiritual maverick group, and a group that designed steps for creating a prosperous, happy, successful life. They had some practices, which again were ancient wisdom, not like they were brand new. The whole idea of doing a self-evaluation, 12-step programs would call it a fourth step. Catholics would call it confession. It is to do a searching inventory of what we've got on the shelves of our consciousness and get rid of what isn't selling anymore, and keep what is, and keep fresh things on the shelves of our consciousness that enhance our lives. So that was the Oxford group. The Oxford group spawned the 12-step program, spawned Alcoholics Anonymous. So I say part of the roots, our roots come from that, but also from ancient wisdom, because remember, ancient wisdom was very much a part of the Oxford movement and the Transcendentalists. And Eastern spirituality, Fillmore and the Fillmores began to explore Eastern spirituality, which was meditation, the power of meditation, which is why it's a focus on our Sunday mornings and in our practices, meditation. And then Charles was a great scientific thinker. So if you read his books, you'll find he talks a lot about the integration of science and spirituality, which is, a big thought today in recent times. But he and others were thinking about it then. And there were also scientists who were trying to connect science to spirituality. David Bohm, I could name a few others who were physicists. And then it moved into quantum physics, right, which is where we're pretty much at today. The importance of the truth that by our thinking we can shape substance into the shape of our thoughts, that the quantum field is malleable to our thinking. Fascinating to see that science is finally supporting spiritual thought. So any comments or questions here so far? I'm talking too much, come on.
Was there any integration from Christian Science?
Yeah, they were contemporaries. Mary Baker Eddy and the Fillmores were contemporaries, and in some ways, how did they diverge? I think Mary Baker Eddy, which became Christian Science, put a focus on healing, physical healing, and more of a focus on the one mind, being, moving, breathing, having our being in the one mind. Whereas the Fillmores, I think, were a little more global and a little more, they very much employed scripture. Mary Baker Eddy, I'm not so sure was that interested in scripture. She was interested in healing. And the Fillmores were too, because that's, you know, how they started, right? Yes, keep going, Cass.
So, but with, Unity, you still do incorporate a lot of scripture,
A lot of what?
scripture. You know.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
We do. Because Fillmore's were very, I mean, if you read their Fillmore's books, you'll see he talks about Jesus over and over again. And one of his quotes, I'm not sure if I put it on here, is, you know, the best use of our time is to incorporate the way that Jesus, or the teachings of Jesus into practice. Yeah, very much. And Mary Baker Eddy, not so much. Do we have Christian Scientists in here in the room? Oh, Betty Jo, well, why don't you comment a little bit, Betty Jo?
Well, Mary Baker Eddy really dwelled on scripture. She loved scripture. In her daily lessons, there's always a scripture, and then she has something to add to that from Science and Health and keys the scriptures. So my family studied that for years, and I have also studied it. So anyway, it's all good.
It's all good. Have you been to the first Christian Science church in Boston?
No, I haven't. My son has.
Hey, you have, Chris?
I have it in Colorado.
In Colorado.
The one, it looks like a, what it looks like,
A rotunda?
no, yeah, well, that, like some spaceship came down.
Oh, yeah.
But it's lovely. And the acoustics are amazing
Yeah.
in there, because the acoustics are, yes.
So I was at the one in Boston, and I was so inspired. There's a hall, maybe 15, 20 feet wide and very, very long. And here's what I remember. There were screens on the wall, very modern, what I'm thinking now, like a screen, and it would show letters kind of all over and swirling and making no sense at all. But as they swirled, they became words and quotes and inspiring sayings, which is all to say that idea is right from quantum physics.
It almost felt like a planetarium.
Yes, it looked like a
And
planetarium.
when it came together, it was with the stars and the words and it's like, yeah.
Yeah, quite beautiful. So they were colleagues, Mary Baker Eddy and the Fillmores. And I think they all studied with Emma Curtis Hopkins, a great mystic of the day. And then they went their separate ways. And I don't know all the reasons for that. So more comments. Where are you at with all of this? Because I don't want to talk the whole time. What are your thoughts so far about the roots and where you are in your own spiritual path?
I think they were way ahead of their time. And what drew me to Unity is my girlfriend, she's a nurse administrator, and she said, after divorce, I was looking for a church, and she said that a lot of medical people go to Unity. You know, so I like that combination of science.
Yes. One supports the other, huh? Yeah. Anybody else comment on what we're looking at so far? Okay, so the beginnings of Unity were health crises. How many of you know Charles' situation? Okay, Darlene, what was his situation? What was his health crisis?
He had one leg that was shorter than the other, and he was having trouble that way.
Yes, he had an accident as a kid, and the surgery wasn't good, whatever they did then, but it was his hip. And it all deteriorated so that he was wearing an elevator shoe as a kid and then as an adult. And so the pain was probably pretty great. And if you can imagine a 4-inch, difference and how it would throw the whole skeletal system off. So I would suspect that he was in pain a lot.
Even our boots that we wear for broken legs nowadays throw you off.
Yes, that's why the doctor told me, don't wear that boot.
Yeah.
I had a boot from, never mind. Okay, so health crisis. So who knows about Mrs. Fillmore's health crisis?
She had TB.
Pardon?
Did she have tuberculosis?
She had TB. She had TB. And back then, you remember hearing about TB sanitariums all over? It was kind of like, it reminds me a little bit of the, the pandemic with HIV. People were dying left and right until the research found a way to halt the progression of the disease. And the same thing is true about tuberculosis from what I've heard. In fact, my mother wound up in a tuberculosis sanitarium for a while. And so back then it was considered terminal. And she had 3 sons at home and she did not want to die. So she and Charles went on this spiritual search, which, if I go back to the roots, led them to meditation and the power of prayer. And she actually, it wasn't, I don't know that it was original to her, but after she realized, after a lecture, here's the story. E.B. Weeks, a metaphysician of the day and a lecturer, something like Joe Dispenza or Greg Braden, the E.B. Weeks was the Greg Braden of the day. And so they were attending his lectures and she heard this, and this is the piece that really changed her life. So you might contemplate, what was the spiritual truth that you heard that changed your life, that sent you on a new direction perhaps? Are you thinking right now? In her case, what E.B. Weeks said was, you do not inherit illness. We do not inherit illness. How many times have you said or heard someone say, well, it runs in the family? Oh yeah, she got it, and that's because it runs in the family. Yes.
I was born and raised and educated as a Lutheran. Went through the confirmation process, hated it, hated going to Sunday school. But I was assigned a Bible verse when I graduated from confirmation. And it's Proverbs 4:23. Keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it flow the issues of life. From that, I discovered Proverbs as a guide, as a young man.
Yes.
I think every Bible I've ever owned, the entire book of Proverbs is probably underlined. Wonderful.
Yes.
You asked the question, that's my answer to that question.
Thank you. Thank you. I love that one too. Keep thy heart with all diligence. Thank you. And so that's the thing that sent her mind suddenly shifted. Do you know, can you remember those aha experiences you've had? You might reflect on that. What was an important aha experience that you've had spiritually? For her, it was that. And she so believed that she really was not the first, but really developed the prayer practice that Unity has always had from her beginnings. And that is affirmative prayer. Kind of getting ahead of myself here, but she would spend most of us don't do this or wouldn't, would spend hours a day focusing on healing her body. She would talk to the cells and atoms of her body, her organs, and she asked for forgiveness. Forgive me for not taking better care of you. I don't know exactly what she said, but she spoke to the cells and atoms and the organs of her body in very loving ways. I love you. I appreciate you. Sorry if I haven't taken care of you. I'm going to be better now. I'm going to do better now. And that led to affirmative prayer. So how many of you have called silent unity? If you haven't, treat yourself.
Say again. Put it
How many of you have called silent unity for prayer? Yep. Yeah, when silent unity, when a prayer associate at silent unity prays with you, you know it's done. You know, I can still remember before I became a minister, I was pretty new in unity back in Florida. I can still remember the place where I was, and I was working in a little boutique, and my friend who owned the place, I was talking about a crisis in my own life, and she said, here, she dialed up silent unity and gave me the phone. She said, don't worry about what to say, just ask them to pray with you. And that shifted my whole thinking about prayer. It woke me up to it. So I'm kind of curious, anyone willing to share? Thank you, Sheldon, for sharing that aha moment that shifted your approach. Who else? Think for a moment, what was it? Yes.
So, I've inherited depression. My body doesn't produce enough serotonin, and I struggled with it for many years until I finally found the right antidepressant. But long story short, there was a time that I was really down. I mean, just like felt hopeless, and this, I don't even know if I can describe it, but this feeling came over me. It wasn't a mind feeling. It was like every cell in my body said, everything's going to be all right. And that's when I understood how, like, the answers are meditation, the answers are all within you, because I'm always trying to listen, but I'm listening with my head, you know. So it was just the weirdest feeling, but it was like every cell in my body. And that's Unity talks about a higher energy force that's in every living cell, you know, and that's when I started to understand. I can't say I understand, you know, completely, but that it was just.
It's the great mystery,
Yeah.
isn't it? Science has helped us to understand a little more how that can work, but in Unity, we call that step. In Unity, we have a 5-step prayer process, and realization is the 5th. It is that knowing that whatever is okay, it's going to be done, or everything's okay. There's a sense of peace. Like, I don't have to keep praying this right now.
And I did get a sense of peace after that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say, I mean, God's definition of everything being all right might be a little different than mine, but.
Yeah, no, but I mean, a
And he's
peace.
definitely on, or she is definitely on a different time schedule, but that was comforting.
Thank you. Who else? Anyone else? Yes.
You know, I had an experience when I went through a divorce and I became very depressed. And just, you know, I just was totally out of it. And my mother sent me these little booklets, and they were actually written by Catholic priests. And they were called You Are What You Think. And there were several little booklets. And I had those, and it was written by this priest who was their chaplain at Folsom Prison, where that's kind of the last stop for the worst kind of people in the world. And, they're committed terrible crimes. But anyway, this priest, designed these booklets from his thoughts about inmates at this prison, and taught them that you are what you think. And he was able to save a lot, turn around the thinking of a lot of these inmates that were in prison.
Interesting.
And so I started reading books, booklets, they're just little booklets. And man, everything was underlined. And I slept with them at night. And it just totally turned my my whole world around, because there was a program called Displaced Homemakers, and I was able to get into that program. And that just totally, it was all really positive thinking all about that. And it just turned my life around.
Fabulous, fabulous. Thank you. Anyone else? Your moment, a moment. Yeah, Jean?
This makes me think about I've always said to my sister, I've told her that she's such a Pollyanna, but she could take anything and make it positive, just innately. My own process from being a child was not like that at all. I worked so hard. And my father passed when I was 11. And I think that in my 20s, I happened to live in Kansas City. I was very lucky to be near Unity. I didn't really know anything about Unity, but I took classes. And I remember in my 30s, I was told I had lupus. And had I not had those classes, I don't think I would have been able to deny, the people around me, that my mom was like, "Oh, what can I do?" Blah, blah, blah. Well, later I didn't have it anymore. And the doctors were like, "Well, they misdiagnosed you." But my experience was, I somehow healed from different things that I probably would have never had that mindset.
Right.
That was possible had I not gone to these classes back in my 20s.
And I think I heard you use the word denial. How did that?
I don't think I even knew that word back then. I think I just remember telling my mom, don't speak about that, and don't keep saying that over and over that you're sick, you're this, so in my own consciousness at a young age, I think I just, figured it out that whether I called it denial, I do now today, but back then I didn't know to say that I do, except I knew to say, don't speak that into the universe. And so, I just kind of on my own little way tried to find.
And your introduction to Unity, it sounds like, moved you along in that direction, or helped you know that this is not the final truth.
Yeah, I think back in the day when I was going to classes, I was an Episcopalian. And so the good news about that is there was never any really ingrained kind of, I was able to move quickly from Episcopalian and say, well, there's nothing really conflicting here. I have no conflict. I just have new information.
Great, new information. Anybody else?
There.
No.
There you are, Barbara. Thanks, Sheldon.
Well, she raised her hand about this high.
Well, 40 years ago, we bought a business and it was very, very difficult for us and we were very concerned and we found unity. And it was like, I think it really saved our sanity because we stopped worrying about it. And we used all the affirmations that we could. And it just took a big weight off our head. And I've always been grateful to you.
Really, yeah. That story gave me chills because what a difference.
Yeah.
Affirmations. I think of it as a consciousness creator as well as conditioner, right? I've come to believe that we can totally erase any programming we've already had by the power of prayer, meditation, and affirmation, and denials. No to what comes up that we don't want, and yes to what we do want.
Something was possible at that time. The church we belonged to, which was in Golden Valley, Minnesota, had a prayer room that was open 24/7. A very nice little room. I would stop there every morning on the way to work.
Oh, how wonderful.
That business, when we bought it, had 6 rotten employees and 8,000 square feet of space. When we sold it 2 years ago, it had in excess of 80,000 square feet.
Wow.
And 75 employees.
Wow.
Prayer works.
Wow, I'm just getting chills all over. What an amazing demonstration. Wow. Who was your minister? Was it Jim?
It was initially Don Clark, Vivian Clark. They were replaced by Jim Fisher.
Yeah.
And who came next? I don't know.
Ken Williamson.
Yes, I remember Ken. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a beautiful church. It'd be nice to have our prayer room. You know, we have a prayer room off the sanctuary. Have you guys ever been in it? It's a lovely room. It looks like, it reminds me of the I don't know if they call it the Silent Unity prayer room, but it's a prayer room on the campus at Unity Village. A little room, not part of the Silent Unity prayer building, but it looks just like ours, a little bigger, but just like ours. Be nice to have that open. We'd have to add a door somewhere. Although I'm not sure this, but anyway, I love that story. 24/7 it was open.
Somebody moved in.
Yeah. Oh, anybody else about a shift? Yeah, darling.
I think for me, I think I came into this incarnation with some information, but didn't really understand it. And I attended many churches and I was baptized as a child as a Lutheran. And then I baptized myself again, or had myself in the Methodist church at one time. But being a searcher, I dabbled in all of the, Hindu and all the different, religions and stuff. But nothing ever felt like it. I like certain things about the different searches that I did. But when I walked into Unity, it was like it all came together. And when you were talking about the very beginning, the roots and stuff like that, it just made such sense to me.
Great.
So that was great.
Great.
So I've been a member of Unity for over 40 years now.
Wow. Yes. Yes. And we're still evolving. I love what Charles Fillmore said. I reserve the right to change my mind. Okay. Anything else before I move on? Is everyone doing okay? Joe.
Yes, I'm very grateful. I was brought up in the Methodist church and they weren't too hypocritic they would come home and be hypocrites, and I dropped them away from the church for years. And I had a friend that was born on the same day I was born, and she died, and she belonged to Unity.
Ah.
And that brought me back to the church.
Hmm.
It brought me back to Unity, because the minister at that time explained that death is not all bad. And when she explained that death was not all bad, it clicked up here that I was on the wrong path, that I had to back up and go on the path. And I'm very grateful to be in Sun City. We've been years getting here, but I'm very grateful. And thank you all for being here. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Doe.
Thank you, Jill.
Well, do you have anything to say, Lori? Anything that you would like
We
to
also
say?
went to Unity in Cincinnati for a while, and it really was very inspiring. But when we moved here, we were too far away. But I got most of things clicked for me when I went. And Louise Hay has a book out with Cheryl Robert Richardson on her affirmations, and that's when things really started to click for me. But I'm in love with this book called the Dalai Lama's Cat right now, because it has all the teachings, but in a very subtle way, the cat tells you the teachings.
Did you all hear her? Yeah. The Dalai Lama's book on. Thanks, Lord. Great. Okay. Anything else before I move on? Sheldon.
What was the name of that book again?
The Dalai Lama's Cat.
Oh, okay.
I would just like to make a comment. I think one has to be very, very careful in how you use the terms and the statements that we take so much for granted, like Fillmore saying he reserves the right to change his mind. That does not include, and this is my point, that does not include the right to break a promise.
It does not. It does not.
It does not.
Clearly.
You make a promise.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up. For me, that's a Jesus teaching too. It's about integrity. Yeah. I say what I mean, and I mean what I say. And you can count on me. You can count on me. Well, since you brought it up, Sheldon, think about what it takes to be a friend, or a husband, or a wife, or a partner. If you can't trust, can you really have an authentic relationship? Can you really love as you would like to if you can't trust the person you're really wanting to trust? It inhibits, if you can't trust, it inhibits all the expression of all of our other powers with the one that you can't trust, because we're always trying to stay safe. Don't get me hurt. So that's related for me to breaking promises. I say you can renegotiate, but it's a relationship, right?
Barbara and I have been married for 66 years.
Wow. Wow. That is.
We've done a lot of negotiating.
Especially having a business together,
Yeah.
right? Working in a business together, 66 years. Wow. What a great example of what you can do. Where were you when I needed you?
With Barb.
Huh?
With Barb.
Okay, someone read this for us. Oh, Barbara, Dee.
Couple of things in my background that brought me to Unity. When I was in school.
Grade school or high school?
I went to the Methodist church. And it was interesting in that I always felt like God was watching, make sure that I was behaving. This is what we had taught. At least that's what I understood. It always made me uncomfortable. And then, when I was first exposed to the idea of unity, and realized that the spirit is within us and within everyone. It made everything comfortable. Another issue that I had with the Methodist Church was I had 2 sons, and my oldest son was handicapped, mentally handicapped. And they would go to Sunday school. And at one point, they were giving out Bibles, but they had to do a certain exercise and reading the Bible and so forth. And so my oldest son, who was handicapped, was not capable of doing that. My younger son was, and they were going to be handing out Bibles to the ones that were able to perform. And I could not stay in that church with that happening to my kids.
Right.
And so I know that had nothing to do with the church itself, but it had to do with the teachings of the church.
Yeah.
And so those were pretty profound experiences for me.
Yes.
And fortunately, about the same time, I discovered unity. And it made sense to me. The spirit is within us all.
Yes.
Just what's there watching us
Right.
and judging us.
Right. Thank you.
You know,
What a story. Yeah. Part of our vision, which I'm really in love with, and we all created it, you know. I mean, if you were there, you know that we all worked on creating a vision that there was a consensus about, and it is inclusive. The vision is acceptance of all, part of the vision. A phrase in the vision is acceptance of all, which is what unity has been known for from the get-go. That's important to me. So someone, anybody else? Then someone with a big voice, please read this. Yes.
Man is mind, and he is capable of comprehending the plan and the detailed ideas of the one mind.
What do you think about that? That's from Christian Healing, which is, I have some quotes in here from that book. That book, Christian Healing, was one of Fillmore's earlier books. And it has in it the creative process. So what I love about unity, what I've loved from the get-go is it's practical. There are practices and there are frameworks, and the creative process is one of them. Frameworks for understanding how it works that we create our own life, how it works that we create our reality, how it works that we can create a life that we love. 7-step creative process in that book and other places. So man is mind, and he's capable of comprehending the plan. Have you ever asked or wondered what the divine plan for your life is? Have you noticed that it doesn't get revealed to you all at once? Huh?
Or yet.
Or exactly when you want it? Yes, but there is one. And if you could think of an idea that brings together all the things you could say about a divine plan for your life, what would it be? What might it be? What do you think the divine plan for your life is in a general way? Darling?
I think for me, it's to try to live out of love and service.
To live, love, and service.
For me, yes.
Yeah, thank you. Well,
Proverbs.
keep your heart with all diligence. Yes,
The whole book.
The whole book. I'm sure there's a Bible right behind you, Sheldon, on one of those shelves. Maybe we should take a look at Proverbs next time. I think
All
that's,
I get the understanding.
with all thy getting, get understanding. It is more valuable than jewels and, yeah. Great. Okay, where were we? That idea, the divine plan. If you had to say right now what you think the divine plan for your life is, what do you think it is? Yes.
To evolve my spirit to become more like the great I am, like Jesus, to be pure love.
Great, great.
It's a process.
So yeah, to develop oneself to live from love or be love, right? Anybody else? The divine plan? Any
I
idea?
agree with that. I see it as stepping stones. You know, you put one level on it, you go to the next level and just keep growing along the way again. It's just a progression. And I don't know what the end is. What that takes me, but I think it's what you said with, you know, learning to love yourself and love other people and connect in the energy of love.
Great, great. I love what Emmett Fox says about love. Love is the most important thing of all. It is the golden gate to paradise. Pray for an understanding of love and meditate upon it daily. I can't remember the rest of it, but he goes on to say that it's all essentially, it can reconcile all things and solve all problems, personal problems.
I had a student one time who wrote, in a class I was taking in graduate school, wrote that love is the cosmic glue that holds everything together.
I love it. Love that. That's in the revealing word too. If you look at love in the revealing word, it will say something like that. It's the cosmic glue that it's what holds everything together.
And I do believe that love is the end all be all.
Yeah.
But we don't know what the end is.
We don't know what the end is. No, it's the great mystery.
It's a great mystery and I'm looking forward to it, but I know if we all have that love,
Yeah.
that's what we live.
Yes. Do any of you know who Mary Oliver is? Oh, I recommend her. I'm just going to make myself a note to bring some of her poetry in next time. Yeah. Mary Oliver wrote a poem about death. I mean, it's not really about death. It's about what might lie beyond that door we call death. And she says something like, I hope I'm a bridegroom, or something like being a bridegroom waiting for the bride. Remember that, Sheldon? You remember that day, don't you? Even though it was 66 years ago? What? Okay, Mary Oliver. Are we ready for the 5 laws, or at least to start on the 5 laws? Do you need to get up and stretch? Let's get up and stretch for just a minute. It'll wake up your mind.
Oh, we need to
Stretch, stretch, stretch.
There's enough.
Water. I'm just looking at a book. Did you know that Sunday, the rest of the Sundays in this month, and I think we might go into April, we haven't decided yet. We're having a book sale. We used to sell books on Amazon, and we have gotten out of that business. So what we call the Amazon room right across the hall has some incredible books that we will be selling for a love offering beginning Sunday. So you want to make sure you get in there. But I just found one of Mary Ann Williamson's books on prayer. So did you all stretch? Okay, have a seat. We've got, hey Kathy, I don't know, do we have cups for water here? Are there cups there?
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay, this is apropos. I opened to a prayer. This is called Illuminata, A Return to Prayer, that one by Marianne Williamson. So close your eyes for just a moment. Dear God, remove from me my darkness, reveal to me your light, which you shared with me and have placed within me. May I shine forth as your beloved child. May your spirit cleanse my heart and mind. Forgive me, Lord, and set me free. I come to you, please come to me. Oh, Cleopatra. Yeah, thank you, Carol, for shutting the door. Okay, 5 laws of spiritual dynamics.
We tried to pray.
Huh? We tried to pray.
We gave it a shot.
We did give it a shot. If I have an invitation, if any questions during the week come up regarding whatever we cover or whatever we haven't covered, please bring them next week, okay? Bring your questions. They always make for good discussions. So I call our 5 basic teachings the 5 laws of spiritual dynamics because they are dynamos. I love Charles Fillmore, his expression of the dynamos in the ethers. He knew about the field of all possibility, but he didn't call it that. And so I think of these laws as dynamic. They're not static in any way. They're energy, pure energy. And so the first one is, someone read this for me. Kathy, can you see it okay?
Yep. There is only one presence, one power, God, the good omnipotent.
Yes, there's only one presence and one power. We say on Sundays, in the universe and in my life, God the good, omnipotent. Any comments on that one?
Give us an explanation of omnipotent.
Yes. Well, when we talk about God, I'm not sure if I use that term here on this PowerPoint, but the 3 omnis. Omnipotent, which is all powerful, omniscient, which is all knowing, and omnipresent, which is everywhere present. The 3 omnis. So omnipotent is all power. We say God is power itself. It's invisible, dynamic energy. It's power. So I would like to have us take a look at these questions and comment, please. So for you all to think about, what do you believe about God for real? Do you know how you know what you believe about God? How do you know what you believe about God? You realize it. How do you realize it?
Have an inner knowing, have an experience.
An experience,
A oneness.
a oneness. Which, and how do you know you're one with God? It's a feeling. Okay. How else do you know that? How do you know what you believe about God? Darlene?
I see God as energy or vibration in everything.
Yes. Yes. Here's what I'm thinking. Just check me out. I could be wrong, but probably not. Kidding. this is what I've discovered. This is my experience. I can tell what I believe about God when I look at what I do with my money.
With what?
When I look at what I do with my money,
Hmm.
or what my attitude is and belief is about money. Do I think lack when I'm spending, when I'm paying my bills? Do I say, oh man, I wish I didn't have to pay this, or this is too much? When I look at the price of anything, am I thinking, oh, this is too much, I could never do that? I know what I believe about God in a way, in the way of abundance. Because in God, there is no lack, is there? In God, there is no lack of anything. There's no lack of love. There's no lack of life, joy, peace, plenty. We say God is abundance. I'll get to that. Another way I know what I believe about God is if I make a decision based on what I'm afraid of. Because there's no fear in God. If I'm one with God, I cannot be afraid.
Can I make a comment? This is Kathy.
Yes.
Up there.
Where are you?
Over here. I just want to give an example of what you're describing from my own personal life. When my husband's a real estate broker and I was a realtor, I'm still a licensee. But when the housing bubble burst and we went through our savings and we lost our house and we had no income, lots of animals and a lot of responsibility. We were going to the food bank for food. I mean, we were broke and I just didn't get it. I was like, why am I so broke? Why aren't you answering my prayers, God, and giving me money? Because I need money. And then it just struck me when I was meditating, I don't need money. God can handle it. Just ask God to take care of it. And so once I replaced the feeling like I needed money with the feeling like I don't need money, I just need God to handle it. Then I started, I hadn't been tithing. I was afraid to give money to the church because I need money for food. I need dog food. And once I started tithing again and stopped worrying about money and just giving it all to God, things started falling into place and we're building back.
Oh, fabulous. Great example. Great example. Yeah. Anybody else want to share an experience of how you know what you believe about God? Or a shift, a shift.
Well, for me, it's, when you realize that you're on fixed income, sit down there, deal with paperwork. And, I just realized that, if I look at what my income is and I look at what I spend, it doesn't match.
I think
I just let God handle it. And it works out.
I had the same exact experience way back when. How can it be that I have all this money in my checking account when I'm paying all my bills? Yeah, I don't want us to think just about money though, when we consider what do we really believe about God. Gary Simmons, who is a Unity minister, wrote a book called The Eye of the Storm. And in that, he said, one of his major tenets in that book, which is something to throw into the arena here right now, is no one and nothing is against me. No one and nothing is against me. So the moment I think that something is against me, anything, right? Anyone or anything, I've just stepped out of God is love. Now it may look like something and someone is against me, right? But that's the great work on the spiritual path, to prove in our life that no one and nothing is against us. Kath?
What do I believe about God? Well, I have a lot of things and there's principles.
But the word for me that really meant so much and has been my word is trust.
Mm,
Because without that trust, and that's what I think my prayer for a long time, let me trust
mhm.
the infinite words and the words that have been part of my foundation spiritually. But how do I put them into trusting? I think the biggest thing is when you go through a hardship or some kind of, and you keep your not your beliefs, but your spiritual center strong,
Mhm.
then whatever is happening seems almost irrelevant, but it always works out.
So you said a lot right there. I'd like to take it apart if I can remember what you said. So you said trust. It's trusting the goodness of God, the
The basic principles of God of love.
God of love.
Yeah.
And Kathy spoke to when you run into a problem, can you let go in trust?
And trust.
And know that you're going to be divinely guided, right? If there are next steps to take.
Like, I know unity is very much about affirmation. For me, I feel like I was a truth student. You know, okay, let me know the truths.
Yeah.
And those really basically are Bible. And I think unity just kind of transfers them into a modern day speaking of that.
Yeah.
But it's like that word trust. I said, oh, I've got all this information. I've got all this. What is the word that really kind of pushed me into say, oh, give me trust.
Trust in the truth that what you know, what you're reading about or hearing is the truth, and trust the love of God, the goodness of God. Yeah, that's faith.
That's faith. Yeah.
That's faith, right? And trust kind of feels like a more active word in some ways, but I want to recommend my book or one of the books about the 12 powers, because faith is one of our powers. And our powers are dynamic. They're not static. So the power of faith is dynamic in the sense that we act on it. We either live from trust or not in any challenge. And there's always a challenge, always. Okay, I think we've had enough for the day, right? I'm not sure.
Can I say one thing?
Please say one thing.
And I don't want to ruffle any feathers or anything. I've always, for me personally, I've always had trouble with the term of turning everything over to God. Not that I don't believe, but let me see. I believe that God will work with me, but not for me. I believe that, so in my prayers and when I talk to God, you know, I thank him for working with me. And I don't know, maybe it seems real nitpicky maybe, but that's just how I feel.
I don't think it's nitpicky. I think it's an important point.
Yeah.
And that is, I've always heard, because I'm in 12-step programs, God will do for us what we cannot do for ourselves. God will do for us what we cannot do for ourselves. And we've all had experiences of that. Have you not? If it was left up to my own thinking, it's amazing what has happened in my life that I never could have imagined in my wildest dreams. Good thing. God will do for us what we can't do for ourselves, but God will not do for us what we ought to do for ourselves. And that's true, and it's biblical. It's probably in Proverbs somewhere too. But James, the epistle of James, the letter of James, is faith without works is dead. We either live by our faith or we don't. And there are, you know, there's a crisis in faith globally right now, right? A crisis in faith. And the best thing we can do is keep the faith and continue to know that God's in this too. somewhere. And God can do for the Ukrainian people what they cannot do for themselves. And also for Vladimir Putin. Okay,
Give your prayers legs.
pardon?
Give your prayers legs.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Okay, so these 3 questions I'd like for you to contemplate through the week. What do you believe about God for real? Just take a look. Am I afraid of anything? Afraid of death, afraid of sickness, afraid of pandemic, I'm going to get sick. And let it go and put an affirmation in there. What do you believe about God? What do you want to believe about God? And whoops, that's the same thing, sorry. I meant to say something else, but I can't remember what it was. It might have been, what do you believe, what do you want to believe about your relationship with God? So you might examine, just take a look and see what if there were a word that you would use to describe your relationship with God, what is it? And I think Barbara spoke to it when she said oneness. There was a time where I said ambivalent when I was trying to get to trust. Yeah. Okay, let's close with prayer. Are you ready? Did this work for you guys? Ladies and gentlemen, did it work?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay, if there's something that you would like to be happening here that hasn't yet, let me know. But no magic tricks. God, we just thank you for this time. We know that it is fruitful, even beyond these moments together. We give thanks that our thoughts and ideas shared work in us through the week to bless us, to inspire us, to empower us. And so we give thanks as we go out into the day that you are the light within us, enlightening our minds, blessing our bodies, informing our hearts, and that this time invested in spiritual study expands time on our behalf. I pray this now knowing that it is unfolding for each and every one, in and through and for and by each and every one. We declare it so, and so it is. And we all say, Amen. Thank you all.
Thank you.